Welcome to 5.5 months. So I've already done my injection. I wanted to at least do like one video where it's like the day after my injection. So here we are, day after my injection. And I posted my 5-month video, and I wanted to touch on like, so I'm finally, I knew this was gonna happen. I finally have hit the point where in my progress, I'm going to have negative comments on my videos. And so, I mean, it's as expected because trans people are hated on so much. But I wanted to kind of like say, I know that like a lot of you do support me, and then for the few people who are watching these videos who don't support trans people, I didn't tell you to be here. You're choosing to watch my video, and if you're gonna leave a terrible comment down below, why are you taking the time to just come onto someone's video to like make them feel like shit about themselves? Like, this has been a long up for debate thing for me, and like I swapped back and forth in my trans journey of not wanting to be trans so much. Like, I didn't choose this. And for an example, like, people who are trans don't choose to be trans. Like, we're just balancing out, I guess you could say pH or something in your brain of being able to feel more yourself. Like, testosterone has given me the ability to want to live. Like, I've been suicidal my whole entire life. The second that I came to terms with being trans and then started on T, I was actually feeling more myself and more comfortable with myself. Being trans is like when you're sexually attracted to somebody, or never sexually attracted to somebody, or it's like a piece of yourself that you could go on denying your whole entire life, but you'll never feel complete, you'll never feel yourself, you'll never feel whole. So it'll feel like, I don't know, somebody chopped off your limb, and now you have to live the rest of your life without this limb. It's sort of like that, except for trans it would be like putting the limb finally on and being like, oh my god, I've never had this limb in my life, and now I suddenly do, and now you feel like you can actually do this because now you have this robotic hand that's there in place, taking the place of a hand that you felt should be there but never has been there. That's in a kind of way what it's like to be trans and starting on hormones. And I've had a couple people comment in the comments below and saying, oh, you don't have to go on to testosterone, it's okay if you're a lesbian. And I'm like, no, I'm not attracted to anybody sexually. I'm probably asexual right now. Like, and here's a little bit of information on asexuals as well, where you can be asexual and still get sexual desires and want to masturbate, but like being attracted to a person, it just doesn't happen. Like, there's like a wall or something that's right there. That just doesn't happen. That could also be linked to me being demisexual, and the fact that I don't feel I have any emotional connections with too many people to be able to have the initial response of being sexually attracted to someone. But I honestly have always wanted to be asexual throughout all my life, where I just don't experience sexual attraction to people. Like, I've never enjoyed having sexual attractions to people. It turns me off. I don't like porn. Porn makes me uncomfortable. There's been like a few moments before in my past where I have watched porn, but I don't like porn. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that it's very male and female, cisgender, heterosexual norms and stuff, and that's pretty much when I was more interested. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was your handful of like lesbian videos, but that wasn't as common at that point. This was like back in my teens. Like, And then so recently I've been curious and looking up like trans porn to see what that's like. It's been helpful and educational for me, but again, I'm still not like aroused by it or anything. Like, honestly, if I am asexual, then I would be very happy about this. I honestly don't ever want to be in a relationship ever again, which I'm sure some of you who are hating on me probably are happy about that, and they probably don't want me to reproduce anyways. I don't want children. So if you're sitting there and you're saying that the whole entire purpose of humanity is to have like the normal American dream experience where you grow up, you fall in love, and then you get married and you have kids, like, that is disgusting. I have never wanted that life for me, and I never ever wanted to have kids in my life. I've said this through my whole entire life, and I've had so many people be like, oh, well, you're not old enough, you don't know yet. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I know. Like, kids know what they don't want, and the fact that adults sit there and dismiss things that kids know, even though they're like really young and they haven't experienced much, is bullshit, honestly. I think if a kid says that they know something about themselves, don't sit there and dismiss it, because now you're going to set them up for like emotional trauma of like not being able to understand themselves throughout their adulthood, and they're going to sit there and constantly be questioning themselves. Like, that's not okay. If a kid says something, say, okay, why do you think that? Like, find out why they think that. And if they just say just cuz, then say, okay, cool. Like, let them make their own decisions. The fact that everyone's going around and forcing their opinions and decisions and everything onto everyone else is so not cool. Like, we're all different people for a reason. It's important that everyone is diverse and different. Let people make their own decision. I have made my decision for being on T. I am happy with it. I am happy being on T. If you're gonna come into my DMs or my comments down below and be like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, why are you on my video? You shouldn't be on my video. If you're gonna be sitting here telling me what to do in my life, I'm gonna tell you what to do with your life. Get off my fucking video. I don't give a shit. I don't need your views. I'm not here to please you. I am here to make myself happy and document what it's like to be trans. And if you don't like what it's like to be trans, then start creating a healthier environment for us. We didn't ask to be trans. We just happen to be. And if you see the majority of all the trans people, if you ever interacted with one, you can see how much more confident and much more happier they are as a trans person. It is disgusting that you sit there and you think that it's okay to tell people who they are and who they aren't. You have never met this person. If you met a cisgender male and you walked up to him and you just looked at him and he had like a terrible persona on them, and they had tattoos and piercings or something, and you just looked at them and you were like, oh, you're a sex offender. You think that's okay? No, that's not okay. That's kind of the same reality of what it's like to walk up to a trans person and be like, you're not trans. Like, no. Yes, we are trans. I have gone through the mental state of not wanting to be trans. I didn't want to be trans. I didn't want to have to sit here and go and take hormones every single fucking week to be able to feel like I'm myself. Like, that's not okay for you to sit there and think it's okay to just come into my comments and tell me who I am. You don't know who I am. Maybe you've listened to my podcast. Maybe you know that I have had a fucked up past. My past has nothing to do with who I am. My past has created me to have traumas that I have to heal through and make myself become a better person. And make myself be able to be confident with who I am. But just because what I've gone through does not make me who I am. I'm healing that. I am moving past that. That does not own me anymore. If you don't like what I'm saying, then fucking get off my video. I didn't ask you to be here. I didn't ask you to view my shit. I didn't ask you to leave comments in my comments down below to hate on me. I am asking for people to leave comments of information they want to know. If you don't know something, don't pressure people to answer your questions either. Like, that's not okay. If you are not educated in the trans community, go do your research. Educate yourself. Don't pressure somebody else into educating you. That's not okay. I've also had an experience with a friend, not really a friend, an acquaintance from my past who was asking questions about me and like me being trans. And she's like, I just don't get it. I don't get the trans shit. And I was just like, okay, then stop talking to me. Like, I get you want answers, but there is a whole bunch of research you can do out in the community. You do not need to ask and peer pressure somebody to answer your questions. And I didn't have to play into her peer pressureness, so that's my fault. But that's still not okay. And not every single trans person is going to be open to answering your questions. Some of them are still on a very early stage of where their journey is, and they still have huge body dysmorphia. They're not comfortable with their boobs. They're not comfortable with their genitals. They're not comfortable with the way their face looks. And then they look in a mirror and they see a completely different person. That's what body dysmorphia is like. A lot of trans people experience that. For me, it was a little bit different. I would look into the mirror and see the beautiful female body that I'm in, and I would think it's beautiful, but I still had an internal vision of what I would look like as myself, and it was always a masculine presenting person. And so that's where there's the complication. I didn't have the full effect of a body dysmorphia. I do not like having breasts. I do not like having genitals. Like, genitals weird me out. And I've had a experience recently where I've always wanted to have a penis and a vagina, but I don't want the reproductive organs, where I don't want the testicles and I don't want the uterus. I want both of the other two. And you know what testosterone's doing for me? It's turning a clitoris into a penis for me. And someday I plan to get my uterus removed. I will be exactly what I've wanted to be my whole entire life at that point. Through my childhood, I would always ask my mom this question: why don't I have both? And then she would tell me about puberty and how it would happen, and the fact that I would sit there and bleed every week. That's traumatizing. I don't want to bleed every week. I don't want a uterus. I want to get it fucking removed. But I have to be on testosterone for 2 years before I can think about any surgeries. And I've also been asked, am I ever going to get surgeries? I don't know. I'm not far enough along to be able to make those decisions yet. So, who knows? My mind may change. Currently, I would say no, because the options there is for getting a penis put onto your body is not the most pleasant. And getting top surgery, the way my muscles are distributing themselves throughout my body, is nice. And it's starting to make it look like my chest is smaller. So maybe I don't need to get top surgery, but I don't know. We need to give it time. Puberty is a process. You guys can't just like go to sleep one day, have your injection, wake up the next, and expect everything to be how you want it to be. And the fact that it's a slow process also eases the person into being trans. I mean, yes, they have the body dysmorphia. Yes, it's very uncomfortable going through puberty again. But having the transition from what their physical body has been into what it will become, it needs to be a soft and subtle process, because it can be shocking. It's sort of like waking up one day and having a nose piercing and you're not used to seeing it there or something. Or you just changed your hair color and you look in the mirror and you're like, whoa, Hello, okay, I forgot I changed my hair color. Like, it's similar to that. And so, if you want to also think about it, when you have your hair color changed, it's not quite the same as trans, but when you have your hair color changed, don't you always feel better with it? Or you sit there and you hate it. It's a flip-flop situation. And yes, some people may not like what it's like to be trans. And some people may not want to be on the hormones. Some people may want to go to therapy because they don't want to take the hormones. That's okay. To each their own. Some people that works for. Some people are happier doing the alternative. Going to therapy still, taking the hormones, and watching themselves become a better human. Because now they're confident and they actually can see themselves as who they are. We all need to be accepting of our own decisions. If somebody makes a decision to buy a house, to be trans, to move out of state, to cut people off, that's all their own decision, and you need to respect that. And if everybody's gonna sit there and act like a adult child, then you need to go to therapy and grow up, because that's not okay. We are trying to be respectful as a community and understand that we're all different. Diversity is important. We cannot all be the same. And if we were all the same, it would be a very boring world, and it would be very disgusting. I would hate to live in a world like that. I would much rather be dead than that happening. So, sorry. Not sorry. That's my opinion on the matter. And I know a lot of other trans people would be very happy to hear me saying this. Some other trans people might be upset about me saying this because of the fact that I'm being a little harsh right now. And I understand that. I am trying to be forward with my opinions, and I'm trying to get people to understand. If you don't like it, again, get off my video. I didn't ask you to be here. Simple as that. And if you're gonna leave hateful comments, I'm sorry, you need therapy. That is not okay. Clearly, there's something going on with you that you need to work through yourself. I'm just gonna say it. So, that's that. And I'm much more happier with who I am and who I'm becoming now than I ever have been. I have always been a timid little thing. I couldn't enjoy life. And I would always act like a boy before puberty, and then puberty hit, and I was disgusted with myself. Every single time I got my period, I would have a mental breakdown. Literally. Mental breakdown. I hated it. It was the worst experience of my whole life. I feel so bad for females who have to deal with periods. It's not pleasant. I am sorry to any of you. And if you're gonna hate on me for being me, then cool, whatever. I'm more confident and happy with who I am, and if you don't like it, then there's the door. I've lost a lot of people because I'm being myself, and you know what? I'm happy they're gone, because they clearly don't like me for me. They only liked me for who they thought I was. And I'm not here to be a people pleaser anymore. I'm here to be myself and make myself happy. And so I'm putting the boundaries up, and if people want to leave, then goodbye. I'm here to make myself happy, because ain't nobody else gonna fucking do that for me. I have to be that person. And if you all don't want to be that person, then hey, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why you're suffering so bad, but you probably need to work through some shit. I've been working through my shit quite a lot recently. In this past year, I started my podcast for that purpose, and now I am doing this because I want to document and I want to give an opening door for trans people to be able to feel more comfortable in the community. And there needs to be somebody that gives the exposure of what the experience of being trans is like. So, it's ugly. We have to deal with a lot of hate. We have to deal with a lot of shit. And you know what? In a couple years, when there's like younger generations that are a lot more accepting and like loving and kind and understand that the diversity is very important, it won't matter anymore because everybody will be allowed to be themselves. And I'm happy to be able to pave the way for anybody else who needs to walk down the same path, because it's hard. It's not easy. It's back when, I don't know, in the 80s or something, when gay people were not really accepted. Like, it's a similar thing. I mean, older gay people are maybe a little bit closed-minded sometimes to trans people as well, because they're gay, they expect certain body parts on certain types of people, and then they start hitting on someone who they think has that body part, and then they find out later on that they don't, and then they get mad. That's also not okay. Like, you can't define people just by their physical appearance. There's a lot more to a person than just the physical appearance. It's not okay for you to sit there and define people off of their physical appearance. We're all different. We're all healing. We're all doing our own thing. We're all along in our own journeys. Everyone is different. We've all had different experiences. Even if you have a little brother who grew up and had the same exact experiences as you, he's still going to be different. He's not going to be the same as you. He didn't go through the same school systems that you went through. Maybe everybody thought you were lame and he was cool through school. So you're going to be very different people. Everyone's different. No two lives are the same. Even if you have a Siamese twin or something, or like you have two people who are sharing the same body, like two heads on one body, they're gonna be still two different personalities. One may be a bit more angry and closed-minded, the other one could be more giggly and happy. There's no such thing as two of the same person. It just doesn't happen. So fitting everybody into this cookie-cutter system is not okay, because nobody's the same. And the fact that, like, going into the work system where we all need to work 40 hours a week, unless you have a doctor's note because you have a mental health issue. That's not okay. I think we should all be willing to work a job that makes us happy and fulfilled. That's what we should be doing, not sitting here trying to get experience. It should just be, how passionate are you about this role? I think that's what it would be important. What can you bring to the community here? Are you going to enjoy it? Happiness is what strives and makes everything. When you don't have happiness in a situation, workplace, or anything, things can't progress. It just doesn't happen. Because if you have Jim over there and he's hating his life and he's sitting there dragging his feet around because he can't get himself to get the motivation to do this job that he doesn't like, that's going to affect the whole entire team, especially if it's a production environment. You can't expect everybody to be the same. Not everybody's fit for everything. Like women, a lot of women, not all women, a lot of women can take on a house cleaner role or a mom role. Some women also take on the dad role. Some women are doing it by themselves, so they have to be both. Some dads are doing that. Some parents are doing that. We're all different. We all do different things. So my point here is there's no two people who will ever be the same, no matter what. You guys all need to be more accepting and loving. And I need to do that as well. I'm not going to cut myself out of that equation. It's very true. I need to work on myself as well. And I've had people comment on there and say, you're sick. Okay. So, we're all damaged, we're all broken. Okay? What's your point? What are you trying to say? Are you trying to hurt me? I've said many worse things to myself in my past when I was still female. I've said way worse stuff to myself. Way worse. You think you can one-up me? No. Try me. I've done worse. I've been suicidal in the past. I've almost pushed myself to that because of the fact that I hated being female so much. And it wasn't just being female. I would revolve every experience around wanting to die, and any little thing could push me over the edge. Any little thing. Now, I stand strong, and I'm gonna sit here and voice my opinion because y'all don't fucking sit here and be rude to somebody like that. It's not okay. I know a lot of you aren't being, but I want to get this out into the open, and I feel that it should be heard. And this whole YouTube series is about me voicing my opinion and my experiences. This is what I'm doing. And so, it is what it is. It's important that everyone sees this. And I'm not going to take anything down. And yes, I have deleted the first few comments that I've seen because at first they upset me. I didn't like them, so I just took them down. But going forward, if I do get any negative comments, I'm going to leave them up because anybody who goes into the comments needs to see how many of you people are out there who are going to be hating on somebody for being happy, for being themselves. And yes, taking a synthetic drug is not that great for possibly growth and it shouldn't make you feel like you are who you are. But think about it. A diabetic needs to poke their finger every day and take some insulin so they can still function and be alive. It's similar to that. Not quite to the extreme, but I would be suicidal if I wasn't on testosterone because this feels complete to me. It makes me feel whole. So that's the best I can give you for comparisons, but being on an anxiety med could be similar as well. Being on an antidepressant could be the same as well. Taking your prescribed drugs from your doctor is similar. This is still something that's being healed. It's helping us be ourselves. And a lot of you, yes, may be against pharmaceuticals. That's okay. There is alternatives to taking supplements that are natural that can boost testosterone as well. Maybe not to the extreme that doing an injection, putting some gel, putting a patch, or taking a pill can do. But it's still something that helps you live, and that's what it's there for. Everybody's different. Everybody needs something. If it's doing yoga every day, having breathing techniques, taking your vitamins, your supplements, making sure you have a regular routine for exercise or food or sleep, all of that's important. So, I'm sorry if you are a person who is hurting so badly internally that you feel the need to lash out at somebody you don't approve of because they're different. Because, yes, trans community is now finally coming to light more, and we're all able to see that they exist. And it actually helped me realize who I am, so I am grateful it did. And yes, change is scary, especially for older people. Watching the world change and become something different than what you remember it being when you were young and happy and enjoying your life, and before you had to go into the work system and dread your next couple decades of years and stuff. And I don't know what to tell you. Your life is never going to be the same. The second you leave high school, the world is your oyster, and they're bound to be changes because there is always progression that needs to happen. We're an evolutionary race. We need to keep growing. And if you can't accept the change, then you're gonna get left behind. That's the best I can say for that. And a lot of the generations who don't think tattoos and piercings are acceptable, that generation's possibly going to be retiring soon, so it's going to be more acceptable in workplaces. And that's going to be similar for LGBTQ people eventually, where we're all accepted, we're all different. It happens. Evolution's the thing. And I'm sure once I'm older, there'll be something new that's crazy and will blow my mind that it exists. And I'm sure I might struggle with accepting that kind of change at some point. It happens. You get old and you get stuck in your ways. That's the tendency of, unfortunately, getting old. And if you're going to be closed-minded and not accept people for who they are, you're going to lose a lot of people. And that could also show that you're possibly a very controlling human who needs to feel you need to control somebody else to feel more in control of yourself. And that just shows that you need to work on yourself more. That's my best advice for that. So, if you guys want to sit there and say I'm sick, say I'm terrible, say I'm, like, not whatever in the comments, then so be it. That's your problem. I'm not going to be responding to you. Not after this. I mean, there might be a few that might strike me out of place and be like, okay, so this one's been sitting heavy on me a little bit recently that I read. But I need to leave the comments open, unfortunately, because everybody who does support this community needs to see the kind of shit that we're still dealing with. And it is important. I'm trying to give my community more exposure and help them heal and feel more accepted in this world. And I'm sure whatever communities you possibly are part of, you would try to do the same for them because you care about and love them. Or if it's a community or a family or an animal, or like, it could be anything from animal abuse to, I don't know, your sister or something is going through a divorce and you think the guy's a piece of shit and you want to sit there and make her feel better, so you're gonna buy her chocolate, make her dinner, or stay with her for a little while so she doesn't hurt herself or she feels not alone or anything like that. So it's kind of a caring role that I'm trying to take through doing this. And I know that I'm gonna get a lot of hate, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to deal with that. It is what it is, but it's important. So yeah. And it's a whole different world that people are not used to, and change is scary. For sure. But, you know, the best thing you can learn from change? The lessons that it'll teach you. It'll teach you to grow. Change is very important. Change is scary because it's not things that we're used to. And you know what? There's more lessons that can be learned always. And the second you stop deciding you want to learn, you've died. Basically. No matter if you're alive or not, the second you have decided you don't want to learn anymore, you have died. And the only person who can wake you back up is yourself. Nobody can wake you up, except for you. And I used to say when I was in school, I hate learning. The second I left school, that started shifting a little bit. I started actually actively looking for classes and things that I could do outside of school that I could do to learn things more. Now to this day, I would say I love learning. It keeps my brain fresh. It keeps me developing. It keeps me open to new experiences. It keeps me free of judgment. Judgment is not a fun thing to have. And I would have never pictured myself a year ago sitting in front of a camera saying stuff like this. Like, I would probably be pretty proud of myself and where I've come, and I would be shocked to how the heck I came to where I am. I would have never thought I would be where I am now. mentally at least. So, go ahead, say I'm sick, go ahead and say I'm terrible. I'm in the best mental state that I've ever been in my life. And I've also had a question recently, going forward, am I going to be on T for the rest of my life? Potentially, yes. Potentially. I will have to sit there and do an injection every single week. But an alternative, a little bit for it, is I go through the male puberty. I stay on testosterone until I can get my uterus removed, or the ovaries, or both. Not fully sure if I want to keep the ovaries or not, because I want to be able to have my eggs. But if I can freeze my eggs and then potentially have somebody else carry the genes and kid, then that would be fine. Which I'm sure some of you are hating hearing that, because they don't want me to reproduce. Probably think I'm toxic or something. Whatever. Evolution is important. But if I can get my uterus removed, I potentially may not need to stay on testosterone past that, because my body would not be producing estrogen anymore. So it wouldn't be counteracting the puberty that I went through. And so that's a possibility, and I may actually do that one, because I don't know if I do want to sit here and give myself injections for the rest of my life. That is an option, but I don't know if it's the best one for me. So we'll see. We're still in early stages. It takes probably about 3 or 4 years before you're actually where you possibly want to be, and possibly even longer to be able to be like looking the way you want to. So it's a process. It's about the same as like being a teenage boy going through puberty. It takes multiple years. Same kind of thing. I'm just an adult doing it instead. So, I mean, another thing to think about, who the hell wants to go through 2 puberties in their life? Not a lot of people that I can think of. The first one was pretty terrible in my mind. The second one, not as bad, because I don't mind voice cracks. I like voice cracks. And so far, I've liked the changes that are happening. I find it fun. So, the second puberty for me, much more enjoyable. Much, much, much more enjoyable. The first puberty, uncomfortable, suppressive, and disgusting. That's the way I viewed that. Especially since getting periods, and that whole shebang was traumatizing for me. So, there's that. And then I also wanted to kind of point on something that happens for a couple trans men that I've like interacted with, or asked questions about, or inquired for things of. One other trans man that I was talking to, he and I both have a similar experience of when we would have sex with somebody else who had a penis, we would experience UTIs or yeast infections after the sexual intercourse. And so that's a common thing because of the fact that we are not as turned on by it. We can't produce the right amount of lubricant. Our bodies are also fighting against our mentality of not really fully being in the moment and wanting to be there and not fully being aroused. So, yes, you could go and try having a lesbian experience where you have a girl, or have somebody with a vagina. Could be a trans man as well. And that might be more enjoyable, but still, maybe this person is someone who does enjoy sexual intercourse with people who have penises. Then they're going to possibly need to start doing some sort of like estrogen, or I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it's like some sort of gel or like cream of some sort that you rub on the inside of your vagina, which some trans men actually have to do, because inside we aren't producing the feminine hormones anymore, so it dries out. So you need to do some sort of lubrication to keep it moisturized in there. So there is that to also think about. For me, that has not happened on that part yet. Possibly. I don't know if it will. It may not. Not all men who are trans experience that. So I just wanted to make some of you aware of that as well, because that is something to possibly think about if you are trans and thinking about being on testosterone. You may end up getting a dry vagina. So yeah, it's a possibility. Not all of us experience that, but some of us do. I am one of the ones that doesn't, so happy about that. But yeah, he and I both did not experience good things with sexual intercourse with penises. And so from that, and since I've been on T, I've realized I don't like people with penises anymore. So that can be slightly complicated too, because if you're looking for a partner and they also are trans or they have body dysmorphia, asking them if they have a vagina is not really appropriate. That can trigger their body dysmorphia, make them uncomfortable, and just going around asking people what genitals they have is just, it's not appropriate. It's not okay. It's just insulting almost, honestly. It's like walking up to someone and it's like, oh, do you have a tongue in your mouth? It's like, what? It's confusing and weird. Like, why do you need to know this? Or like, do you still have both of your livers or something? Like, it's super personal, and it's like, why do you need to know what's in someone's pants to be able to interact with them, or to be able to have a good, decent relationship with somebody, or to be attracted to someone? Like, true attraction, I think, is through mental bonding and like an emotional aspect. But that's also the demisexual side of myself, where I feel I need an emotional bond with somebody before I am interested in them in a sexual sense. So there's that's possibly a little wishy-washy. I mean, some people are specifically only attracted to penises. Okay, great, that's your thing. But don't go around asking what's in your pants. Like, that's not okay. If you have an emotional bond and you end up having attraction to somebody, does it really matter what's in their pants at the end of the day? You just want to make them feel good. You love them. You want to make them feel good. That's more important. So I felt that was a little important to touch on as well. I think that kind of sums up what I wanted to talk about this week. I'm not going to be doing my injection because I did that yesterday. And I wanted you guys to kind of know what it was like a day after I take my injection as well. So it's a little bit more in my body, and like getting processed now at this point. So you can possibly hear it a little bit more in my voice. My voice has been slowly deepening more and more. I had one friend who visited this past weekend, and she was like, wow, your voice sounds different. And I was like, oh, thank you. I like that. And I also had a couple doctor's appointments this past week, and I was starting to get a little bit of swelling from the injection spot again. And I talked about it with my doctor, and she was like, how far are you putting the needle in? And I was like, oh shit, I'm only putting it halfway in. And she's like, you're not putting it in far enough. So I was like, okay. So I did my injection yesterday, and I made sure I put it all the way in. Like, use all of the needle. My needles are only like this big. They're not that big. And you gotta put it all the way in. And so I put it all the way in. It's been slightly a little itchy here and there, but it's not having the same swelling kind of effects and stuff, so that's good. And I mean, if there's still issues with it, I told her I would call her and possibly switch over to something else. There is the option of putting on a patch or doing a gel, but the downside of those two are the lower dosages. But if it's necessary, I can do it. Just because that's a piece of me that I want to keep, and I'm enjoying the changes that I'm going through, and I don't really want to be set back to where I used to be. I'm not a female, and I don't like being seen as a female. It makes me uncomfortable. So, yeah. And I just wanted to give you guys an update, at least a verbal one, even if it's not like a physical one. Happy 5.5 months. Next time I'll be filming will be 6 months, and then I'll be doing a before I started T kind of picture face comparison to the 6 months comparison of where I'm at now. So you guys can see a little bit of a change, but not super dramatic. It is supposed to be a slow and steady change. It's not supposed to be like bam bam change. So, and it's important to remember that as well. Like, you're not supposed to see it instantly. And as much as some of the trans people who are fully in the headspace of being like, I'm ready for the change, I'm ready for it, I want to look like a guy already, it's frustrating the first little while of the change because you are still working through the beginning stages of your puberty. And for a lot of us, we may debate it for a while. I did debate it for a while. Okay, this was another thing I wanted to say. I debated being trans for so long, and I did not want to go onto hormones. I didn't want to do this, I didn't want to do that. And I flip-flopped back and forth. I did not want to be trans. But the second I accepted it about myself, my mind calmed down and I stopped being suicidal. So, that's a big thing. I know a lot of you may not have ever experienced being suicidal in your life, but it's not fun. Like, every single little thing you do revolves around suicide. It's like, how far is this gonna throw me off the handle? Is this the last moment that I feel that I should be around? It's not fun. It's not pleasant. No. I don't wish anybody to ever be suicidal. But unfortunately it happens. And so, yeah, it took me... So I was non-binary for probably about 4 years or so. And I was probably non-binary even before that, honestly, because I think I was non-binary since at least I was 15, but I stayed in the closet until after my second long-term relationship. And the third one that I was with, she actually let me be myself. So, at the end of that relationship, during the last year or so that we were together, I flip-flopped back and forth between trans and not being trans. And I came out at first, and then she and I chose a different name for me. I didn't like it at first. I liked it at first, but then I swapped in my mind. And I didn't like it anymore, and I felt she chose the name to call me by because she had a crush on somebody from her past and wanted me to be that person. So that kind of set me back a little bit, and then I just wanted to be non-binary again for a little while. And then I was for like another 6 months, and then I started realizing that this is not where I want to be, what I want to do, and so I went and sought my therapy for hormones and stuff, and then I started to try to get it, but then there was a discrepancy in the pharmacy, and it was a pharmacy where it was people I knew, so they didn't want to give me my hormones, basically, because they didn't want me to be trans, and so I was being denied my medication that I was prescribed, which can be considered illegal, but whatever. And then after that, I ended up quitting that job and then going back and trying to get the hormones again. And this time I was successful, and then I started my T journey, as you guys have seen. And if you watch my first video to how I am, who I am now, you probably can see a difference in me and how much more confident and relaxed and comfortable I'm feeling. And I feel that way. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I feel that way. And I'm a lot more me, I feel. So, I've lost a lot of people just because I'm being myself and being true to myself. It is what it is. They left because it was meant to be that they left. And maybe we're not meant to be friends or something. Whatever. It is what it is. At least I am making myself happy instead of people-pleasing everybody and trying to make everybody else happy. And I guess a big reason why when I first started to look at these comments, I got upset because in a way I felt I was people-pleasing because I started these videos and I was trying to please the people in my community. But that's not fully the case because I'm doing it for myself, not for somebody else. And when you first start trying to come off of the people-pleasing mindset, it's like you're analyzing every little thing that you're doing and you're trying to make sure that you aren't still people-pleasing, but then it also feels like you're being a dick because you're trying to be true to yourself, and then you, in some sense, are possibly hurting somebody else. But the thing is, for that, is I can't be responsible for other people's feelings. If they're going to respond to me in a certain way, then that's their choosing. They are responsible for the way they react, the way they respond, the way they feel, the way they are. And the best I can do is keep a level head when they are reacting the way they are to me. And so I'm still working to get better at that, but I've made some good progress and I'm proud of myself for that sense. And it's hard trying to pull yourself back into a consciousness and gain control back over yourself and realizing that you are allowed to be you instead of the you that everyone has made you out to be. And you don't have to be the person that everyone's made you out to be. You fitting everybody else's standards will not only put you on a pedestal, but it'll keep putting you up higher and higher as you keep meeting it. And then the second you don't meet it, you fall off. And now you're this terrible person because you've been doing so good for so long, but now you fucked up and now everything's going to shit and now everybody wants to leave because you're not this big perfect person. And who is truly your friend in that situation? Nobody. Nobody. You have no friends if you people please. Because everybody's there for their own benefit, not yours. And that's a big thing to learn when you're people pleasing. And to finally realize that nobody else cares because they have made you out to be this person and they want you to fit who that person is, it's fucked. You can't fit that standard. Nobody can. That's like being a king or queen and running your whole fucking country and everybody's holding you to the high standards. You ain't gonna be able to please everybody. Unfortunately, there's still gonna be Jim at the end of the table still wanting a bowl of soup because he's indulging himself, and maybe they're only allowed to have one bowl of soup a day because that's what is affordable for everybody. It happens. You can't please everybody. There's always going to be somebody who's upset and getting affected by the comments and stuff. I'm working to not be, because the people pleaser side of myself wants to make these people happy, but that's not who I am. I can't turn around now. I'm started down this path and I'm liking who I am and I'm liking who I'm becoming and I'm liking the direction I'm moving in, and I've never felt motivated to live my life more than now. If people don't like it, then again, there's the door. So I feel I've touched on everything I wanted to talk about. I'm sure there'll probably always be more. And my little doggy is visiting me now. Hi, honey. Hi, Beanie. You guys wanted to say hi to Honey? Hi, Beanie. What are you doing? Yeah, okay. Why don't you go run around? Oh, you want to sit on my lap? Okay. Well, Honey and I, thank you for watching and listening to me rant a little bit during this video and kind of trying to open some people's minds up and realize that you don't need to be a people pleaser and to always be kind, because we're all different and having diversity is super important. We can't all be the same. But yeah, from Honey and me, I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you for watching again for the 5.5 months. And I will be seeing you in 2 weeks for 6 months. Guys, we made it to 6 months. Finally! Woo! This month is going by terribly fast, unfortunately, because of the holiday season. And again, holidays are super hard for me because family. So, woo! Yeah, but hopefully next year, around this time, I will be in a lot better of a place, and I will be enjoying my life a lot more than I ever have before. And I know it can only get better from here, and that's the goal. Just keep trucking on. Don't let all the shit that's terrible weigh you down, because there's always going to be more bad stuff that comes up, and if you keep focusing on the bad, then how are you supposed to enjoy the good that is passing you by? Just make sure you look at that snowflake that's falling from the sky and what kind of unique design it had. There's no two snowflakes that are the same. Same for humans. And that's beautiful. We all love the way a little snowflake looks. It's beautiful. Diversity is beautiful. So just remember that. Be yourself. Don't try to people please. You'll lose a lot of people the second you stop it, but after you've gotten past the grieving process of them being gone, you'll be happy they are. Bye, guys.